They don't want you to see this, but I just arrived from 2069. You need to watch this video to the end. A massive change is coming to everybody's life on February 14th. You've already decided, you just don't know it yet. If you want a negative change, all you need to do is keep scrolling. But if you want the most positive change of your entire life, all you have to do is like this video, follow me, share it with a friend, and drop a comment. I have to go now before they get me. I hope you guys stay safe.
When they tell you, don't go to Lake Lanier.
Here's something about SpongeBob you probably didn't know. So you know how they live underwater, yet there's a whole beach for no reason? We were all like, how is there water underwater? Well, there's actually such a thing as underwater lakes and rivers. In places like the Gulf of Mexico, seawater will often rise through the thick layer of salt that you'll often find at the seafloor. The rising water dissolves the salt layer, causing it to collapse, all while forming a depression. And of course, the dissolved salt makes the water in the depression denser than the seawater surrounding it, which is how you can end up with a river or lake in the ocean. Some of these underwater rivers can actually be a few miles long. And underwater rivers, which are really just a mixture of salt water and hydrogen sulfide, behave and flow as normal rivers. Now here's where I f**k you up. These underwater brine pools are 3 to 8 times saltier than the seawater around it, which is why animals like this eel that get too close can end up getting toxic shock while getting trapped inside. So in a weird way, it's actually possible for underwater animals to drown inside these brine pools. This eel got lucky, but normally most animals that mess around and get that close don't come out alive. Moral of this video: Hillenburg was a f***ing genius.
So I was in this really weird part of the internet last night and I ended up on this page of female murderers, and this one woman, her name was Belle Gunnis, and oh my god. This was in the 1800s, her and her husband had 4 kids together and they all had life insurance policies. So she poisoned 2 of the kids, got the life insurance money, and was like, oh, I like this. They owned a candy store. She burned that down for insurance money. There were 2 life insurance policies for her husband that overlapped by 1 day, and on that day, she poisoned him and got both. So she took her remaining children and moved to a new farm, burned that farm down for insurance money. Then she got married again and had 2 more kids, poisoned the one and got insurance money. Then killed that husband with a meat grinder. She said it just fell on him and she collected the money. Then she put ads out in the paper for a new husband, asked them to bring all their money to her farm. She took the money and then killed them. Eventually, she set her house on fire with her and her 3 kids inside. And when the police showed up, they found 40 dead bodies. But then that body wasn't hers, it was somebody else's, and she faked her own death. And they never found her.
This is the most terrifying bathroom of all time. This bathroom is located at a bar in Japan, and this face sits right in front of the toilet. Well, the toilet seat has pressure sensors, so whenever somebody sits down, this face moves slowly closer to you while singing a drunken tune, until it eventually kisses your kneecaps. Watch the video.
On November 14th, 2002, my 4-year-old son and I were going to a friend's house. So I had my son in the front seat with me and we were headed up an abandoned road in Nova Scotia. And as I went up this little abandoned road, I saw a large lake that had flooded. The water was rushing across the road into a small marshy pond. So I slowed down to 20 because I didn't want a hydroplane. And as I entered the little river running across the road, my tires lifted up and pulled towards the guardrail, and I kind of roller coastered into the center of this lake. My car, without any motivation, flipped over the guardrail out into the lake 10 feet and landed on the roof. The water started to rush into the car, and the car started to sink very, very quickly to the bottom. So I looked at my son and I said, okay, we have got to get out of this lake. So when I tell you, you take a deep breath, and Mom is going to open the door and we're going to swim out of the car. And as the water came up over me, I got to the point that we had to breathe, and I said, okay, take a breath now, baby. And the 2 of us took our breath, and the water came up over our heads very quickly. I pulled the door handle, the door wouldn't budge. I leaned over, I pulled his door handle, it wouldn't budge. I started a little frantic, pulling on doors and pushing on windows. Nothing was moving. I needed both of my hands. So I took my son's body and I lifted him out of his chair and I pushed him into the back seat over my head, hoping if there was anywhere in the car that there was air, it might be in the back. But when I looked back, that car was upside down, and if there was air, it was in the trunk. So I pushed him away from me, and I began in earnest life-saving. I'm pushing on doors, and I'm pushing buttons, and I'm pulling on things, and I put my feet against windows. Nothing's budging, and I had to breathe. So as I took in my breath, the water rushed into my lungs like liquid fire. And I lost my cool. My ability to life-save went out the window because I didn't mind dying. But my baby was drinking in fire water too. And I went into pure panic because I knew I was going to die. I could not get out of this car. And I knew I was going to die, so I wanted my son's body back. I wanted him to hold him because in his dying moments I had pushed him away. What was he going to think? So I started frantically searching the car for a coat tail or a shoe or something I could grab and pull back so I could die with my baby in my arms. I couldn't find anything. And the more frantic I got, I had to breathe. And just before I took the next breath, I heard in my ear, as loud as my voice to you today, relax.
Puppy was thrown into a cheetah's enclosure, and you won't believe what happened to it. Kambali the cheetah was separated from his family from a young age. Because of this, he became very aggressive, even attacking people that came into his cage. But then one day a girl came to the zoo holding a puppy, and nothing could have prepared her for what was about to happen. She accidentally threw the puppy into the enclosure, but instead of attacking it, they cuddled. And they are still best friends even to this day.
Here's some of the creepiest videos on the internet. Part 10. The popular American rapper XXXTentacion was murdered on June 18th, 2018, and his death broke the hearts of many. Many people visited his memorial to leave gifts, but some people captured much more. The YouTube channel The Fam recorded a video trying to communicate with this beloved rapper, but accidentally captured this. But someone else got a lot more than this. The YouTube channel Selva the Explorer got to speak with him through her spirit box. Here's some things he had to say.
What is your favorite song that you ever recorded? What's the name of your favorite song? Are you in the white light? Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Okay guys, I just found something incredibly weird on Google Earth and I want to know what you think. Okay, you're gonna get on Google Earth here. You wanna go all the way over to Nevada. You're gonna go down into the desert just like this. Zoom in right here. Once you get all the way down, you are gonna find a circular object. Kinda looks like a thumbprint, but this is where it starts to get crazy. Okay, you're gonna zoom in right here, and then you're gonna drop down to Street View. There should be a little dot you can click on. Wait for it right there. Okay, now click on the dot and I'll zoom in. Now what you're about to see, I cannot explain, and I do not understand. I'm like literally like, I don't think I'm supposed to see this. So here you go. You're gonna zoom in. You're gonna scroll over. You're gonna see a man in all white on a bicycle looking really creepy, but that's not the scariest part. Watch, when you flip around, there's a whole group of them in a circle doing some sort of weird ceremony or something. I don't know, you guys. Follow for more.
If you don't believe in mermaids, this is the story of Sedna, the goddess of the sea. The Inuit legend says that Sedna was a young, beautiful woman living with her parents up north, and her father absolutely wanted her to marry. And she refused every man until one promised her a great life. He said he was a great hunter and that he would provide. They moved far away together, but turned out he was an imposter. He was a shapeshifter. He wasn't a man. He was a bird. He lied and he made her starve. So Sedna's father comes to the rescue and kills the birdman. They left by Hayak, but the birdman's friends came and flapped their wings so hard to shake their boat. Sedna fell over the boat and was holding on for her life. The father took out his traditional knife called ulu and cut all of her fingers one by one. Sedna sank into the ocean, became a mermaid, and each of her fingers became a sea animal that we now have today. Thank you, Sedna.
Photos you're not allowed to see. You're not allowed to go into Area 51, but a pilot named Gabriel Ziefman broke those rules and flew over top. He took this photo in 2020 and it's the best one we have. Cameras have always been banned in the Supreme Court, but in 1932 Eric Silliman snuck in a camera. He pretended to have a broken arm and hid his camera inside the cast. 5 years later there was another photo taken. A lady cut a hole in her purse and put a small camera in it. Since 1878 the most powerful people in the world meet at this forest in California, where they do lots of ceremonies and rituals. This includes presidents, billionaires, and business people. But a photographer named Gabriel Moulon snuck in and took a picture of them doing a ritual.
This is what it's come to. For the first time since the Civil War, the National Guard literally slept overnight on the floor of the Capitol building after Trump-supporting patriots threatened to assassinate the members of Congress who were voting for impeachment today.
I would like to apologize to my family for not being the daughter they wished I would be.
What's up, everybody? Alright, so you guys, today we're going to be talking about the life of Roxanne Sikorsky. Now, Roxanne was adopted from Poland when she was 4 years old with her two younger siblings, a boy and a girl. Now, they were adopted from an orphanage, and her parents, Jeff and Lorraine, are saying that she had a very traumatic life while in Poland. Now, once she got over here to the U.S., they lived in Detroit, and her parents are saying that she started thriving, doing really good in school, and they did not have a lot of issues out of her until she became a teenager. When Roxana was just 15 years old in 2014, she started to run away. Now, her parents, not knowing what's going on, they then found out that she's having a relationship with a man that is 23 years old. Now, this man that she's having a relationship, his name is Michael Rivera. She's 15 and he's 23. Now, the parents, when they find this out, they then press charges against Michael Rivera because they found out that they're having relations as well. So by this time, they're not supposed to be together. They can't see each other at all, but some kind of way, Roxana is still sneaking out to see him. Now, Jeff and Laureen, her adoptive parents, they're basically saying that they did all they could to try to keep him away from her, but they couldn't, y'all. And at this point, Micah and Roxana would do anything to be together. That's when they made this plot to kill her family in order for them to run away. And on October 17, 2014, they would carry out this plot. Now, Michael waited outside of Roxana's house while Roxana went in order to carry out this murder. And Roxana's first victims were her younger siblings. She went inside of their room in which she slashed her brother's throat. Now, after slashing her brother's throat, her little sister then saw what happened and started to scream. When she started to scream, this woke Roxana's parents up. Roxana fled the scene with Michael Rivera and they went back to his home, and then the police found them the next morning. The next day, Roxana and Michael Rivera, they were arrested. They were charged with attempted murder because the brother, thank God he did survive, but they were charged with 4 counts of conspiracy to commit murder and attempted murder.
Bloody murder, or are you just using that as a phrase? I was just using that as a phrase. Roxana's 12-year-old brother testified his sister, also called Roxy, woke him up before the attack. And then she slashed my neck. Her 11-year-old sister says she pushed Roxana. Both siblings ran downstairs to escape. According to prosecutors, Roxana was being coached on how to kill her family by Rivera. And by text, she was asking for...
I've seen over 1,000 horror movies, and these are the ones that genuinely scared me. Part 2. Up first is The Strangers. This one scared me to the core. The home invasion scenario is incredibly scary, in my personal opinion. Okay, up next is The Midnight Meat Train. This one stars Vinnie Jones and Bradley Cooper. This is a real hidden gem. It actually surprised me how scary it was. 28 Days Later is my next pick. I don't normally get super scared from zombie films, although I do love them, but 28 Days Later really broke that mold. Up next is A Tale of Two Sisters, another one that really gives you that heavy in the chest feeling. It's really intense, and I would highly recommend this. Up next is The Exorcist. Now, this movie doesn't really scare me the same way it used to, but Pazuzu's face jumping on screen in the middle of the movie is burnt into my mind forever.